Okay, so you want to open a game store. Shelves of new releases, a glass case of rare cards, a couple of tables in the back where people play on weekends. You picture the new releases selling out on launch day, a loyal group of regulars, maybe a little cash from card packs on the side. That's the picture. That's what the storefront sells you before you've even signed a lease. Here's what nobody tells you. The new games on the wall, the ones you assumed were the whole business, are barely the business at all. And the thing actually keeping the lights on isn't even something you can put a price sticker on. Let's start with the part that inverts the entire assumption. Most people walk into a game store thinking new releases are the profit engine. The opposite is true. GameStop's used games business generates roughly 48 cents of gross profit for every dollar of used revenue, a margin near 50%. New titles run closer to 15 to 20%. That new copy of the big release sitting on the wall isn't the product, it's the bait. It's there to get someone through the door and into the trade-in counter. And once you understand that, the next detail stops sounding strange and starts sounding like the whole point. The real trick isn't the markup on a single trade-in. It's that the exact same disc can cycle back through the store over and over again. A customer trades in a game, someone else buys that used copy, they play it, get bored, trade it back in. The store profits on the same physical object multiple times without ever paying full wholesale for it again. It's inventory that quietly replenishes itself for free every time it walks back through the door. But the store doesn't even need you to buy anything to start making money off you. It just needs you to want something badly enough to reserve it. Pre-orders at a game store can run as low as $5 down, balance due at pickup. That means thousands of customers are handing over cash weeks, sometimes months before a game even exists on a shelf. Interest-free, no strings attached from the store side. That $5 becomes working capital. And if you forget, lose interest, or find a better deal by launch day, that's a risk you took on, not them. So the used games and the deposits are already two hidden revenue streams sitting underneath the shelf you can actually see. But walk over to the tabletop and card game side of the business, and the picture gets stranger still. You'd assume a Magic or Pokémon shop makes its money on the cards. It doesn't. And one former shop owner explained exactly why. He ran his store at near cost on singles and booster packs, barely breaking even, sometimes losing money on them entirely, specifically because the cards were never the profit center. They were the reason people walked in the door. The actual rent money came from sandwiches and drinks sold to the same people once they were sitting at the table. The card shop wasn't a card shop. It was a coffee shop wearing a card shop's face. Which raises an obvious question. If the cards aren't the moneymaker, why does everyone assume they are? Because rare card singles feel like the obvious jackpot. Pull a valuable card, sell it for a premium, print money. Except the math doesn't actually work that way. Selling individual singles against a live secondary market that a customer can check on their own phone mid-purchase in his own store squeezes margin far harder than sealed product ever does. The illusion of profitability is exactly that, an illusion. And here's where it gets even less forgiving, because the squeeze doesn't stop at the shopper's phone. In tabletop retail, a store might buy a $100 game for around $40 at the distributor level, a 60% contribution margin, which sounds healthy until you realize the distributor took a comparable cut of their own before that game ever reached the shop. There were two full layers of margins stacked between the publisher and the customer, and the shopper standing at the register never sees either one. That two-layer system is fragile in a way most small business owners never think to plan for, because it assumes the layer above you keeps showing up. Wizards of the Coast used to run something called direct sales, a program that let small stores who couldn't secure a distributor buy Magic products straight from the source. When that program ended, it didn't just remove a convenience, it removed the safety net that let underscale stores get access to hot, limited print releases at all. Overnight, an entire category of small businesses became newly dependent on distributor goodwill just to stock the products their customers were already asking for. Now stack that fragility on top of the live pricing problem, and you start to see the actual shape of this business. Platforms like TCGPlayer publish real-time secondary market prices, which means a store owner isn't just competing against the shop across town, he's competing against a public price feed his own customers are quietly checking mid-purchase on their own phones in his own store. There's no MSRP that means anything here. The real price benchmark updates by the hour, and the store has almost no control over it. You'd think, with margins this squeezed from every direction, that trade-ins would just be a wash. They're not, and the reason is buried in a detail almost no shopper ever thinks about. When a customer trades in an old game for store credit instead of cash, that credit is often treated differently for sales tax purposes than a straight cash purchase, depending on the jurisdiction, which means the same inventory the store is already profiting heavily on, the recycled discs cycling back through the shelf for the second or third time, gets pushed back out the door with a tax advantage baked in on top of the margin. The system isn't just recycling product, it's quietly recycling tax efficiency along with it.
So if new releases are bait, used games are the real product, cards are a traffic funnel, and even the tax code is working in the store's favor on the back end, what's actually holding the whole thing together? The answer is the part that looks the least like retail. Nearly all of these stores survive on a narrow slice of SKUs, and more importantly, on events. Weekly organized play, entry fees, sanctioned tournaments with prize support, revenue that has almost nothing to do with anything sold off a shelf that day. It functions less like a retail business and more like a subscription wrapped around a storefront, a community that happens to have a cash register in the middle of it, rather than a shop that happens to host a few games on the weekend. Which means the store you pictured when this started, new releases on the wall, a glass case of rare cards, a couple of folding tables, was never actually the business. The new games are bait, the used games are the engine, the pre-orders are free financing, the cards are a funnel dressed up as a profit center. The distributor takes its cut before the store ever sees the box, and the thing actually paying the rent is a Tuesday night tournament with a $20 entry fee and 8 people who show up every single week, whether or not they buy anything at all. If this is the kind of hidden economics you want more of, this channel breaks down what's actually happening inside the industries everyone assumes they already understand. One asset, one business, one hidden ledger at a time.